Have you ever been in a moment where everything felt dark, where every step forward seemed impossible, and you thought to yourself, maybe I can't go on anymore? It's in those moments that a tiny spark of hope can make the biggest difference. Hope doesn't need to be loud, it doesn't need to be grand. Sometimes, it is as simple as a gesture of kindness, a word of encouragement, or even a painted leaf on a wall. This is the story of an old painter named John Harris and a sick young man named Ethan Walker, a story that proves one thing: hope can truly save a life. Ethan had once been full of energy. He was in his early 20s, a bright student with dreams of becoming a doctor. But life often strikes hardest when dreams burn brightest. One winter, Ethan fell gravely ill. The illness drained him, weakening his body day by day. Despite the medicines, despite the doctor's efforts, Ethan grew weaker. He spent long days lying in his small apartment, staring out the window. Beyond the glass was a tree, tall and old, its branches reaching upward like arms raised in prayer. That tree became his only companion, but as autumn came, the leaves began to fall. One by one, they drifted down until only a few clung desperately to the branches. Ethan would lie in bed, counting each leaf. And with every leaf that fell, his spirit fell too. One evening, as the wind howled outside, Ethan whispered to his mother, "When the last leaf falls, that will be the day I go too. I don't have the strength to fight anymore." His mother's heart broke. She wanted to scream, to tell him not to give up, but the words stuck in her throat. All she could do was hold his hand, silently praying for a miracle. Across the street, in the same building, lived an old painter named John Harris. John was once known for his art. His paintings had hung in galleries, his name once spoken with admiration. But now, in the twilight of his life, John was alone. His wife had passed years ago, his children lived far away, and his brushes had long since gathered dust. That night, through the thin walls of the old apartment, John overheard Ethan's words. He sat in silence for a long time, staring at his worn-out brushes. And then, something stirred inside him. When the storm grew fiercer, John put on his coat, grabbed his paints, and stepped out into the freezing night. His hands trembled, but his heart was steady. Against the brick wall near the window, where Ethan could see, John painted. Stroke by stroke, he painted a leaf. Green, vibrant, alive. A leaf that clung stubbornly to the branch, as if to say, "I will not fall." Rain lashed against him. The cold pierced his bones, but John kept painting through the night. Each stroke was a prayer, each color a message. "Hold on, Ethan, don't give up." By dawn, John was exhausted. But when he stepped back, there on the wall was a single leaf, so real, so full of life, that no storm could take it away. The next morning, Ethan opened his eyes and turned to the window. He gasped. The storm had stripped the tree bare, but there, on the branch, one leaf remained. It clung stubbornly, unmoved by the wind. Days passed. The leaf stayed. Ethan watched in awe, whispering to himself, "If that leaf can hold on, maybe I can too." Something changed inside him. The despair that had been suffocating him loosened its grip. A flicker of hope returned. He began eating again. He started to fight. The doctors noticed the improvement, surprised by his sudden strength. Weeks later, Ethan slowly regained his health. The boy who had given up on life now laughed again, dreamed again, lived again. One morning, after recovering enough to walk outside, Ethan's mother told him the truth. With tears in her eyes, she said, "That leaf, it wasn't real. Mr. Harris painted it on the night of the storm. He caught pneumonia that night, and he passed away shortly after." Ethan froze, his heart pounding. Suddenly, the image of that painted leaf was no longer just a miracle of nature. It was an act of love. John had given his last breath to give Ethan hope. The young man wept, not with despair, but with gratitude. That painted leaf had carried him through his darkest nights. It had given him the will to live when everything else told him to let go. Years later, Ethan fulfilled his dream. He became a doctor, dedicating his life to healing others. And in his office, framed on the wall, hung a painting of a single green leaf. Whenever patients lost faith, he would tell them, Don't give up. Hope is the strongest medicine of all. It saved my life once, and it can save yours too. Hope is not just a word. It is a force. It can lift the broken, heal the wounded, and bring light into the darkest corners of our souls. Hope is the bridge between despair and survival, between giving up and moving forward. Sometimes hope comes from within. Other times, it is gifted to us through a smile, a hand reaching out, or even a painted leaf. But no matter how small, hope has the power to save a life. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember John Harris. Remember that you may hold the brush that paints their last leaf, the one thing that keeps them holding on. Don't let despair write your story. Hold on to hope and share it with others. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe so that more people can be reminded that no matter how dark the night may seem, there is always a light of hope shining somewhere.